Okay, hi everybody, good morning. Thank you very much for coming along to listen to me jabber on for 30 minutes, so really appreciate your time. It's my honor to come and talk to you today about how you can set yourself up for architect success. My name is Gemma, and I founded Ladies Be Architects, and that's a community initiative that celebrates the successes of architects who work on the Salesforce platform and those who are working towards becoming technical leaders. Specifically, we're trying to help women realize their own potential too, seeing as there is such a large disproportion between there is a very large gap in the ratio of males to females in this space. So we work really hard with my co-leaders Susanna and Charlie, who are floating around the expo at the moment, to try and empower women and realize that they can do this just as well as anybody else. But that's not to say it's just for women. Our organization is for everybody. We produce a lot of content for people to use towards their examinations, and we celebrate the successes and the contributions of many of the very talented men in our community as well, who are so keen to support us. So thank you very much for your continued support. My role is a solution architect, and I work for Blue Wolf, which is a Salesforce partner. And I've been working on Salesforce for about 10, 11 years now, and I have 16 certifications, including the designer ones. And most recently, I failed my Certified Technical Architect Review Board, which was an incredibly valuable learning experience, and I look forward to having another go next time. So what is an architect all about, and how can we be successful? Architects are creative, they're innovative, they are thinking of the bigger picture all the time. In fact, many of our architects are admins, they're developers, they may even be non-technical people who are thinking about the best way to implement technology in their organization. But they're always learning, they're always looking to find out more about what they are doing. They're designers, they're teachers, they fix things, and they solve problems. They solve problems you don't even know you have yet. And if you find yourself, if you can tick some of these off, even whether you call yourself an architect or not, then actually you're already thinking like an architect. So you're already halfway there. And to explain more about what I mean by that, this diagram might look familiar to many of you. Let's say one of your users comes to you and has a question. They come to you with a requirement for a field or a report. I want a tick box. And the first thing you're thinking when they want that tick box is, how do you know you want a tick box? You've come to me with a solution. You haven't described what you're trying to report on, what you're trying to automate. So you're thinking about how you're going to, when you've got that requirement, you're thinking about how you're going to design your application to meet that requirement. You're thinking about whether that's going to be declarative or whether you need someone to write an Apex class. You're thinking about who's going to be able to see and touch and edit that field, potentially, or that report. You're thinking about how people are going to be able to log in automatically to the system when they click a link to that report, and seamlessly. You're thinking about how data gets into the field that's going to drive that report. Where's it coming from? How is it kept secure? How often are we refreshing the data? You're thinking about how are you going to make that information accessible on any device? And you're thinking about whether this data will be exposed to your outside users through a community. And finally, you're thinking about how much data you're having to deal with and the impact of that volume of data on all the other things that you see here. Whilst you're designing that, you're also thinking about, is it the right thing to do to build this field directly in production? Or which sandbox am I putting it in? Am I checking it into Git? Am I looking to deploy it at a specific release time? And then am I having to actually govern how that data is going to be kept clean, how I'm going to keep it current and relevant for my users, and how am I going to manage this big swarm of people, including the person who came to ask me for the field in the first place, their manager, the project manager, the program director. You're thinking about how you're going to manage all the different stakeholders. How many of you can say that that's something you do on a regular basis? Lots and lots of you. Then you come to the right place. So setting yourself up for the success means gaining knowledge and experience. And getting the knowledge and experience you need, the route is paved with dragons. It takes a combination of bitter experience, learning, Trailhead, using the internet and videos and completing Trailhead badges, but then equally looking at how you want to cement your knowledge and recognize it through credentials, looking at your certifications, and then aligning your project work. If you work for an end user, and doubtlessly you'll have a whole roadmap of different things that you want to achieve. Why not align your learning with that roadmap? If you're a consultant or you work for an ISV, there'll be opportunities that will come up as your salespeople are selling project work. There's an opportunity for you to put your hand up and say, I want to do a bit more Service Cloud. And then maybe think about doing your Service Cloud certification at the same time. Maybe halfway through that project, you discover that you need to implement a private sharing rule. There's a certification for that. It's a great way of succeeding in this space by combining all the different things that you need to do. I started without Trailhead. My focus was web research and fierce, bitter experience. And videos. But if I could do it all again, I would like to be a lot smarter about this. And this is a fantastic opportunity for all of you here who are just starting out, who have maybe been doing this a few years, who are very, very experienced, maybe even some of you are CTAs. You've got the highest level of certification in this space, but you haven't stopped learning. So there are different tips and tricks I can give you to help yourself be more successful as an architect. One of those is being smart with Trailhead. How many of you have got super badges? Okay. Super badges are a fantastic way to test your knowledge, but by actually applying it to something. One of my favorite badges is the Business Process Automation badge. You get to play with Flow, and you get videos of Gillian telling you about the different requirements that your fictitious customer has. And you have to make decisions about how you're going to configure Salesforce in order to meet those requirements. And once you've got that super badge, that shows that you have put the thought into what you're designing. You can use Trailhead to help yourself stay current. And as humans, we've got quite a competitive nature. But you can make the best of this platform by focusing on cementing your knowledge through exercises and applying them. By competing with yourself. It doesn't matter how many badges you've got. It's great if you've got 400 badges, but it's how you plan to use what you've learned in those badges that matters. Don't play Pokemon. Read, learn, watch, and use. And you'll get more points as well, because you'll be hitting that mark. You won't just be scrolling down to the bottom and hitting check challenge and discovering that you've missed one and you get 25 points. We run contests using Top Trailblazers, which is a platform that one of our friends and allies built that tracks Trailhead badge completion. And we run our own competitions, community competitions, based on points. So people who have achieved the highest number of points within a certain month, we send them some swag. It's great. It's a great way to actually ensure that people are still playing with Trailhead, but they're learning at the same time, because that's what it's there for. If you're an employer and you're hiring, one tip I could give you is why not ask at interview whether your candidate has any super badges and which was their favorite super badge. That will tell you how the candidate intends to focus their learning. Are they just collecting badges because they think that's going to get them a job? Or are they looking to use their knowledge and actually have they tested the knowledge that they've gained through those super badges? And certifications too. The next tip I can give you is you can be smart with your career and you can make your job work for you. In this space, there are relatively There's more, but the three main routes that you can go with your career on Salesforce is an end user. So that could be somebody who has a company that has purchased Salesforce and uses it as a CRM system for sales, service, and everything else. You have a lot of options in this space because once you work for an end user, you are part of the team that owns that org. So you have an opportunity to influence the roadmap for that org, and therefore be able to see this system evolve and change to your business's needs. And you also have a great opportunity to apply new techniques like design thinking, where you can put together lots of different ideas and continuously improve your organization. If you are more inclined towards the consulting side, I mean, I am. I like to learn as much as I can about different industries, and consulting is a great way to do that. You swoop in, you build, or you fix, and then you swoop out. But the main part of that is that you get the skills that you need in governance, and you get an opportunity to train people on how to look after their system once you've flown out of the window. If you work for an ISV, you have a great opportunity to be innovative and to influence how you want to take your product to market, but also how to make sure that the managed package that you build and take to market is as optimized as it can be. What happens if you fill up your accounting managed package with 50,000 transactions in the short space of a month? Is it sustainable? Yes, no. As an architect, you're thinking about how you're going to take that, optimize that for the wider community. You can be smart with your certifications too. You can align them to your work experience, and this is something I wish I could go back and do. I did it once, actually. I was working on a Service Cloud project about 6-7 years ago, and I hadn't done Service Cloud before. I had tried the exam before, and I failed it. I was stupid enough to schedule my Sales Cloud exam and my Service Cloud exam back to back, and of course I failed Service Cloud, because why would you try and shove so much knowledge into your head in one go? So I decided, no, Gemma, that was a bit silly. And I postponed my exam until I had an opportunity to work with Service Cloud. And then I smashed it because I was living it every single day. I was implementing it. So this is definitely something I wish I could do all over again. And now there are even more certifications that you can achieve. So I guess what I'm saying with this is that you don't have to necessarily go and collect a lot of certifications. We all love Salesforce, and we all want to carry on working with Salesforce, and we all want to be successful in our careers with Salesforce. But this is where I think we can really shift the mindset. We need to slow down a bit, pick up the certifications, align it with the experience, maybe do some Trailhead to help you study, do some super badges to help you prove that you have applied the knowledge in a really effective way. And then, once you have amassed the experience and the knowledge, you'll find that working towards that pyramid isn't as hard as you maybe thought it was a few years ago, because you've been doing it. And you've been actually looking at things like sharing and data volumes as part of your admin and Sales Cloud, Service Cloud work. And certainly, depending on the organization you work in, there's so much data out there that you'll have a different experience every time you work with a different type of organization. So, as I said, if I could do this all over again, I wish I could. I suppose I might be a successful architect, but that's because I love what I do, and I really genuinely love working on helping people. And I started in pre-2008. I was basically a spreadsheet fiend. You would just give me a system I could pull data out of, get it ready to go into another system, and then maybe think about training people on it. And then by accident, I failed my probation period for a job. And when I was looking for a new job, this role came up that was nearby, and they said, we got this thing called Salesforce. And back then it was classic. Does anyone remember that? With the gray buttons? Oh yeah. So actually that was how I fell in love with it, and I decided I wanted to go and play with it and help people more with it. And so the experience started. I mean, I've had a fairly different. I've had a journey over the years that has been wrought with various different challenges to overcome as well. But working for a consultant, working on enterprise projects, working for non-profit projects, working as a contractor, volunteering and running Ladies Be Architects, right the way through to my first CTA attempt, that has taught me a whole different bunch of experiences around stakeholder management and data. So things you can do to ensure your success and set yourself up for this is to slow down. It's a marathon, it's not a race. And you don't have to be the one that has every single badge, because the badges are all coming and going all the time. I've learned through my top Trailblazers buddies that there are a lot of badges that have been retired over time because they're not relevant anymore. So yeah, I got 400 badges, but what matters is what you've learned. And I go over those badges quite regularly. If a customer asks me a question, I can't pull it out of my head. That's the first place I go. I just go into Trailhead and I Google. But I also Google the forums as well. But you could actually also volunteer for projects that challenge you, as I said earlier. If you've never ever set up single sign-on and you never ever wanted to, but you want to tackle that pyramid, it's a great thing to do to challenge yourself. Yeah, I'll set up single sign-on. I set it up for Google and I was dancing around my living room going, yes, I've done it. If you're bored, you can try something different. Okay, so using single sign-on as an example, I'm a very functional person. I don't write code. So when I had the opportunity to set up single sign-on, I was like, oh, no, that's something I give to other people to do. But then I thought, if I want to do this CTA thing, I'm going to have to do this. So, and I was scared. But taking the opportunity to do that and learn it was more valuable than anything else. Value every single experience. As I say, I just failed my CTA, like bombed it. And yes, I came out of the exam and beat myself up and said, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And it turned out I didn't do this and I didn't do that. I completely messed it up. But I came out of that feeling like I had a right to be there, that I belonged there, that I knew enough to get it next time, and that I accepted it was just one final ladder that I needed to climb. And that is actually more valuable to me than sitting there and reading books. It was brilliant. Studying with a friend, this is how Ladies Be Architects began. I didn't want to do it on my own. I went into the wonderful Success community group and I was like, where are all the girls? There's so many guys in here talking about, lovely technical things. Where are all the girls? But I also wanted to do something about it. I didn't want it to just be a glorified message board. It's lovely. You can have Facebook for that. You have Twitter for that. We decided to get together once a month and just chew the fat over different things. We talked about large data volumes, and then it turned into a democratically elected study group that we do every single month. We record and we post on our website that other people are now using to pass their exams, and it's incredibly humbling to see that happening. And then staying current with Trailhead, just because even some of the best CTAs that I know, they're on Trailhead just as regularly. One of my idols, Keir Bowden, he's on Trailhead every time, watching out for new badges, learning something new and applying it in his daily job, and encouraging others to do that too. And they're fantastic role models for everybody. So the final question I can ask you is, to take away from this, is what will you do? What are you going to do to push yourself, challenge yourself, and compete with yourself 6 months ago to set yourself up for success? Thank you.